our list at number 10 is Rob Schneider, the hilarious actor well known for his work in comedy films. He was once taking on big roles starring in multiple movies next to other big stars like Adam Sandler. In the 1990s and early 2000s, he was everywhere. But nowadays you don't really see much of him anymore. Many would say that his time has passed. He's done a lot of the same comedy which had him playing similar parts each time, and casting directors are probably looking for something more fresh and new. It doesn't help that some of his movies received very bad reviews and he was even sued for one of them. Back in 2010, investors sued him for his straight-to-DVD movie called The Chosen One because they wanted to recoup their investment since the movie didn't do very well. That doesn't really paint a pretty picture for other casting directors wanting to really work with him. It's been a few years since we have last seen him on a screen as Rob in the TV series Real Rob. Now his movies are mainly found in discount movie bins at the store, and his latest booking was a video game back in 2018. At number 9 we have Julia Stiles. The actress first rose to stardom in the early 2000s with movies like 10 Things I Hate About You, Down to You, and Save the Last Dance. She took home a number of Teen Choice Awards during the prime of her career. Her career was expected to blossom from there, but it took a turn for the worse when her movies A Guy Thing, Mona Lisa Smile, and The Omen all crashed at the box office. The actress spoke on her career and told an interviewer, and I quote, "I think audiences, producers, and directors included develop crushes on actors and then lose interest and move on to the next one." She did admit that there are a handful of actors that are able to sustain interest throughout the years, but sadly she wasn't one of them. She hasn't been seen since 2017 when she booked a role in the TV series Riveria. She is rumored to be in an upcoming movie called Hustlers where she booked the role as Jennifer. The movie has some big actors in it like J-Lo, and apparently alongside her is Cardi B. Stiles can't be found in any of the behind the scenes or promotions that are currently out, so we're guessing that she is a secondary role or character, which is a great job to book, but nothing compared to what she used to do. Taking the number 8 spot on our list is Hayden Christensen. His career should have taken off when he played Anakin Skywalker in the Star Wars trilogy. However, he received more praise for his other work before that, in A Life as a House and Shattered Glass. When auditioning for the role of Anakin, he was chosen for the role over 1,500 other possibilities. It was unfortunate that his performance didn't wow anyone like his other work did. He took home 2 Golden Raspberry Awards for Worst Supporting Actor. Since then, the actor says it's been hard for him to find work ever since. He says that people can't get past his Anakin character and could only book some smaller roles in some films. For 3 years, he was in films that received negative reviews and even worse box office results. After that time, the actor said he pulled the plug on acting and bought a farm with his wife and kid instead. He has to make a living somehow, and acting just isn't cutting it anymore. In the last 4 years, he's only been credited for 4 projects on IMDb, and none of them that are recognizable. In spot number 7 is Edward Furlong. He's best known for his role as John Connor in the 1991 Terminator 2 Judgment Day. He was starring alongside 2 huge stars, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton. The role made him incredibly successful, which would make you think he was on to bigger and better things from there on out. However, only 3 years after the successful movie, one director claimed the young actor was, and I quote, "clearly on a path to disaster." Unfortunately, his prediction happened to be true. It seems like the young actor couldn't handle the pressures of being in the business, so he turned to drinking and drugs, racking up multiple arrests over the years. He had arrests for drug possession, assault, and stealing lobsters from a supermarket. During an interview with People in 2006, he simply said, "Hollywood me up, man." Later in the interview, he said he had turned his life around, but that didn't seem to be the case. After that, he had more than one arrest regarding domestic turmoils. We haven't seen him in anything in years, and to be honest, we probably wouldn't even recognize him. At number 6 is Phoebe Cates. Back in the 80s, she was one of the biggest names in Hollywood, which is why it was hard to understand why she just kind of fizzled out of the spotlight. She made her first big debut in the movie Paradise and continued to have success in movies which had her fans believing she was here to stay. You may remember her from the later movies she did like The Anniversary Party or Gremlins. In 1989, she got married to Kevin Kline, a very successful actor who we saw as Maurice in the 2017 Beauty and the Beast live action movie. Kline opened up saying that when they decided to start a family, they didn't want work to take away from their time with the children. He told Playboy, and I quote, "We have agreed to alternate so that we're never working at the same time. But whenever it's been her slot to work, Phoebe has chosen to stay with the children. It seems like she quietly just kind of left the industry and retired retired from acting just to be a mom. She's done acting, but she still spends a lot of time doing charity work. Her son has type 1 diabetes, so she devotes her time towards raising funds for a cure. She also started her own boutique in 2005 called Blue Tree. She says, I quote, "I always wanted to have a general store. If I could have a photo booth and sold candy, I would have. Hey, the heart wants what it wants, and I guess hers just doesn't want acting anymore." Halfway through the list at number 5 is Randy Quaid. Yes, Dennis Quaid has a brother, and they look nothing alike, so don't feel bad if you didn't put the connection together. Dennis has had a very successful acting career where he spent years being called a Hollywood heartthrob. However, Randy has had a successful career also, with 119 acting credits to his name on IMDb, but he took on different roles than his brother did due to the difference in their looks. In 2009, his problems began when he and his wife were arrested for fraud by using an invalid credit card at an inn. They were released on bail but then failed to appear in court, and that's when warrants for their arrest were issued. Eventually, the two of them appeared in court, but the charges against the actor were dropped due to lack of evidence. Lucky him. Only 1 year later, the two of them were charged again, but this time for burglary after they spent 5 days staying in the guest house in a home they once owned. Once again, they failed to appear in court and warrants for their arrest were issued again. Turns out they moved to Canada, but they ended up getting arrested for their outstanding warrants. Taking the number 4 spot is Mara Wilson, aka Matilda. She was one of the most well-known and beloved child stars of the 90s, appearing in the movies Miss Doubtfire and then Matilda. But after she rose to fame, she disappeared from the spotlight in the blink of an eye. Years down the road, in 2016, she explains why she quit Hollywood in a memoir she wrote called Where Am I Now? True Stories of Girlhood and Accidental Fame. She explains that she didn't fit the look that Hollywood wanted as she got older. She said, "I wasn't getting any parts. I realized I don't fit their idea of what a Hollywood actress looks like. There's no room for me here. It's hard to come out of that sane and without some serious doubts about yourself." That's when she began to immerse herself in school, theater, and writing. After she graduated college, she admits in her book that she's never felt better. She writes, "Things have gotten a lot better since I left Hollywood. A great weight lifted." Now she lives in New York, where she's become a part of the comedy and writing scene. She happily lives in Queens with her 2 cats and says that yes, she still gets recognized as Matilda. But that is no surprise because she literally looks the exact same. At spot number 3 is Chris Owen. Back in 1999, the actor made a name for himself by playing Chuck Sherman, aka the Shermanator, in the hit comedy movie American Pie. He reprised the role for all the films and even in the spin-off American Pie Presents Band Camp. Outside of the franchise, he had other success in shows like Seventh Heaven and The Mentalist. However, his career faded and he was off the Hollywood radar for a number of years. In 2014, New York Daily News reported he was working as a waiter in a restaurant in California. In the interview, he said, "Life doesn't always go the way you planned. I love acting and this job lets me stay in the fight." The good news is the article helped him book 2 small film roles after it was published. Since then, he's been able to pop up in a few things here or there, like an episode on Criminal Minds back in 2016. We can't blame the guy for trying. I have some serious respect for him. Alright guys, at number 2 is Matthew Fox. He had a successful acting career taking on roles in the hit TV series Haunted and Lost. However, over the years he's made a name for himself as one you don't want to hire. He attempted a movie career which never really took off. Both of his movies, Alex Cross and World War Z, were box office flops, and his role for one of them was mostly cut out of the final product. In his personal life, he's made some nasty headlines, including allegations from former co-stars that he beats women. One allegation came from a woman accusing him of hitting a female bus driver. He's also been charged with a few DUIs. He publicly talked about giving up on acting, which also makes it harder to cast him. During an interview, he said if he doesn't get quality opportunities, he won't take anything at all. This is probably why he has no credits to his name since 2015. Taking our number 1 spot is Drew Barrymore, a very successful actress who grew up in the spotlight. She began as a child star and her career continued to take off from there. The reason we don't see her anymore is because she no longer gets booked for roles like she used to. However, she is okay with it. She has made it clear that she will only take certain roles because she wants to be a good role model to her daughters. It limits the option for casting directors to hire her, which is why she turned to the producer side of things. And just like her acting was successful, so is her production production company. She teamed up with Jimmy Fallon's wife to create the company, which has some successful hits like How to Be Single and Santa Clarita Diet. This is why you can see Drew starring in the Netflix series, because she actually produced it. It probably would have been different if she didn't produce it, because we haven't seen her in a big Hollywood hit since the movie Blended back in 2014. I personally still love her though, she's the best. Starting off our list at number 10 is Cameron Diaz. Have you ever wondered what happened to this hilarious and beautiful actress? At one point in time, she was showing up in pretty much every movie that was brought to the big screen, but then out of nowhere we just kinda stopped seeing her. I didn't realize until recently that she actually hasn't been in anything since 2014. That was her last big year in the industry when we saw her in The Other Woman, Sex Tape, and Annie all in 1 year, and we haven't seen her since. Turns out last year she started making jokes that she retired, and so did her friends and previous co-stars. In March 2018, her close friend Selma Blair did an interview and said, "I would have liked to do a sequel, but Cameron's retired from acting. She's like, I'm done." This had Hollywood and fans wondering why the 45-year-old actress chose to retire without telling anyone. Not that she owes anyone an explanation, it just would have been nice to have a heads up. In 2018, it was confirmed that she has retired from acting and is now living a very low-key life. Since seeing her on the big screen, she has tied the knot to Benji Madden and has also been putting privacy above everything else. She turned her focus to wellness and has since released a few books now on health and aging. At number 9 is Chuck Norris. The actor has had a widely successful career, which is probably why it's been weird to have him missing from the acting industry. He has been a household name for nearly 50 years, but he recently made the decision to leave Hollywood without much of an explanation. Back in 2005, he turned his focus on his martial arts experience and debuted the World Combat League in the hopes of giving young fighters a chance to shine. He was still finding time to act, but he took a long break between 2005 to 2012. We saw him make a return in The Expendables 2 back in 2012, and then 3 years later in 2015 when he was a voice on the TV series The Goldbergs. Some fans believed he might have been making his return to acting, but during the 10 years he only had 2 credits to his name, and we haven't seen him ever since. Next up at number 8 is Shelley Duvall. You might remember her for her legendary performance as Wendy Torrance in The Shining. She established herself as one of the best actresses of her time with her extraordinary performances. However, in 2012 she disappeared out of the public eye, and no one knew what the actress was going through in her personal life. It wasn't until 2016 that we got an explanation for her sudden disappearance. The actress appeared on the Dr. Phil show, where she revealed that she had been struggling with a mental illness over the years. In her interview, you can tell that she is mentally unstable because she was discussing the fear of the Sheriff of Boddingham, which is a fictional character in Robin Hood. Not only that, but she was also claiming that the late Robin Williams is still alive and is actually shape-shifting.
I don't think he's dead.
Yeah, you don't think he's dead?
No.
Where do you think he is?
Shape-shifting.
Yeah.
She went on to explain that she has seen him before and that he looks good in some forms and other forms he doesn't. Once the interview was released, Dr. Phil was heavily criticized for airing the interview, which was deemed as exploitative of her mental illness. The interview is very hard to watch because you can see that the actress is truly struggling. And at number 7 we have Ashley Greene. Her career took off when she booked the role as Alice Cullen in the Twilight movie series. Between the years of 2009 and 2012, Ashley Greene racked up 5 Teen Choice Awards for her role, and she was even named Superstar of Tomorrow at the Young Hollywood Awards in 2012. It looked like her career would continue to take off from there, but over the years it kind of just fizzled away. None of the movies she booked after that took home more than $1 million, except for her movie The Apparition in 2012, which made $15 million. However, the budget for the film was $17 million, so it wouldn't be considered a win since casting directors and agents want actors who will bring them some money. Since then, she's had a hard time finding decent work, and nothing compares to her years with the Twilight franchise. Sliding into number 6 is Vince Vaughn, a very successful actor who has a huge list of movies like Old School and Wedding Crashers. He's mainly recognized for his comedic characters, which might be the reason he stopped booking lead roles over the years. A pattern began to unravel in his career where he only played the same type of character over and over again. Some would say that his charm has worn off. He's been out of the spotlight for some time now and turned to the production side of things, where he has quite the list on his resume. He hasn't given up on acting though, he does book whatever he can get his hands on. He's done some films which made it into film festivals but not theaters, and he might be returning to a bigger movie with Liam Hemsworth. In October 2018, it was rumored that he'd be doing a movie called Arkansas, but nothing has been mentioned ever since then. We're not sure what his role would be or if it's really happening. All we know is he hasn't starred in a big Hollywood movie in years. Halfway through our list at number 5 is Catherine Zeta-Jones. She was wildly popular in the early 2000s, where she had great success for her movies, even taking home the Best Supporting Actress Oscar for her role in Chicago. But over the past decade, her career dwindled away, and according to Catherine, it's because of her age. She spoke out on the issue during an interview and said, I quote, "It's not that there aren't great stories to be told about women in their 40s, it's just that the big bosses in Hollywood feel that the demographic of moviegoers are less interested." During the years of 2014 to 2016, she had 0 credits to her name. Since then, she booked a small role in a TV series called Feud, and more recently booked a role on the show Queen America. The show's network, however, is Facebook Watch, which is a video-on-demand service operated by Facebook, which I've never heard of, so many people haven't even heard of it or seen her show. The show ran for a season in 2018 and has yet to be confirmed for another one. Alright guys, at number 4 we have Katherine Heigl. The actress was once taking the lead in every movie in the later 2000s. Back to back, she starred in Knocked Up, 27 Dresses, and then The Ugly Truth. At the same time, she also starred on the TV hit series Grey's Anatomy. As time went on, she was no longer able to book the lead in big Hollywood movies like she was known for doing. One big reason why could be that she dissed some of the movies that she worked on. She publicly spoke badly about her biggest blockbuster hit, Knocked Up. She told Vanity Fair in 2008, and I quote, "It paints women as shrews, as humorless and uptight. I'm playing such a bitch. It was hard for me to love the movie." She also went on to diss her time on Grey's Anatomy and even pulled herself from the race for an Emmy nomination. She hasn't had the best reputation over the years, and it didn't help when Forbes reported her as Hollywood's most overpaid actress in December 2013. They stated studios' return on investment of just $3.50 for every $1 she was paid. That's nothing when you compare it to an actress like Natalie Portman, who is $42.70 for every $1 paid. Needless to say, we haven't seen her in a Hollywood movie in years. You can find her playing a secondary role on the TV series Suits, and that's about it. Alright guys, at number 3 is Leilani, who you might know as Hilary Duff's BFF in the Disney series Lizzie McGuire. The show skyrocketed the whole cast into fame, and it appeared like the world was at their fingertips. However, not long after the show stopped airing, Leilani completely vanished from the public eye. She didn't even appear in the big screen release of the Lizzie McGuire movie, which fans were super bummed about. She did an interview with Huffington Post where she refers to the years after Disney Channel as dark. She claims she went nuts and made bad decisions, one of them which had her arrested for the felony possession of crystal meth in 2008. Things got even worse for the young starlet as she was a no-show for her court date appearance. That's when the judge issued a $50,000 bench warrant for her arrest. Last we heard about the case was that she enrolled in the Asian American Drug Abuse Program. Her IMDb shows that every few years she booked a somewhat of a smaller project, but her record remains with a serious felony charge that she can't undo. Here we are at number 2 with Rick Moranis. The actor was adored for his role as Wayne Zielinski in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. The actor's career was a massive success, appearing in things like The Flintstones, Brother Bear, and Gravedale High. In the 80s and early 90s, he was one of the hottest comedy actors around. Unfortunately, in 1997, his wife at the time passed away from a battle with breast cancer. The actor says he realized it was too difficult to make movies and raise his 2 children without his wife. He decided to walk away from the spotlight and focused on being a single dad. He didn't appear in anything from 1997 to 2001. He then continued to do some smaller voiceover work for the next 17 years. He was pretty much off of Hollywood's radar. In 2018, his voice was heard in an episode on the TV series The Goldbergs, but that is it. The actor has opened up about it and said he meant for it to be a short break at first, but during his break he realized he didn't really miss the industry. He enjoyed his time off and enjoyed being a dad. Taking our number 1 spot is Amanda Bynes. The Nickelodeon star was once in the prime of her career. She had a very successful career which began in 1998 and went all the way until 2010. Through different TV shows and movies, she had a huge fan base to support her as an actress, me being one of them. But the last movie we saw her in was Easy A all the way back in 2010. After that, her career came to a complete halt and no one really knew why. It wasn't until she began making headlines, and not for good reason. In 2012, she was arrested for driving drunk and hitting the side of a cop car. Luckily, no one was hurt, only minor paint damage was done to both vehicles. After that, fans started seeing Amanda get a little bit out of control. She began tweeting inappropriate comments about other stars and even called President Barack Obama and his wife ugly. She also pulled a Britney Spears and shaved half of her head and then filled both her cheeks with dermal piercings. She started walking the Hollywood streets in crazy colored wigs, trying to hide her face from the camera. In May of 2013, she was once again arrested, but this time for possession of marijuana and reckless endangerment after she threw a bong out of her Manhattan apartment window. Just 2 months later, Bynes was placed under involuntary psychiatric hold after she started a fire on a stranger's driveway. It was made clear that the actress was suffering from some sort of mental illness. In 2018, she came back to do an interview where she opened up about her past, and she said she hopes to return to the acting industry. I am hoping too, girl. She was one of my favorite actresses as a kid. Starting off our list at number 10 is Angus T. Jones. The young actor made his big break on the show 2.5 Men, but quit the show after 10 long seasons. His reasoning for leaving the show was because he felt the show was filth. He even went as far as telling viewers to stop watching it. Angus explains that as he got older, he felt the show went against his religious views. It was reported that the young actor was earning about $350,000 an episode, but he still felt confident in his decision to walk away from the show. After leaving, he joined different Christian groups like Forerunner Chronicles, where he made testimonial videos about his faith. He ended up becoming the president of Entertainment at Tonight, which is an events company co-founded by Diddy's son, Justin. When asked if he has any interest in returning to acting, he says, "The door is definitely still open for me to do that, but I am taking things slowly. I'm kind of liking the ability to travel and to move around at a moment's notice and not have to be in one spot for years at a time." Well, that is fair enough. Good news is he's still young and has a lot of time to make his return. At number 9 is Brittany Ashton Holmes. Ever wonder what happened to that adorable little Darla from Little Rascals? You know, the girl Alfalfa secretly loves and writes his famous line to? "Dear Darla, I hate your stinking guts. You make me vomit." I mean, if I got a letter that started out like that, I might quit acting too. The young actress was only 5 years old when she got the part in the movie remake of the classic show. The whole cast was great, but she definitely stole the show. After the movie was released, she continued to act but only got a handful of gigs. She ended up retiring from acting very early on in her career after she finished the 1996 sci-fi movie Inhumanoid. She went off to school and is currently working on getting a degree in political science and is now 30 years old. Before MySpace was deleted, she wrote, "I was an actress when I was little and did this movie called Little Rascals. It's like really embarrassing to watch and I don't want to act anymore." She is still living in LA though, so maybe one day we will see her on our screen once again. Swiping the number 8 spot is Peter Ostrom, also known as Charlie Bucket in the original 1971 Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The child actor was just 12 years old when he was selected to play the role. After the movie, he went on to say that he really enjoyed working on the film, but that he decided not to sign a 3-film contract when the movie was over. When he returned home from filming the movie, he says he grew an interest in horses and was interested in becoming a veterinarian one day. He no longer had an interest in being part of the Hollywood world. He ended up going to Cornell University College of Veterinary Medicine in 1984 to receive his certificate. His earnings from the movie are actually what funded his purchase of his very first horse. During an interview with Express, he said, "Looking back, my paycheck was paltry, but it was during filming that I became interested in medicine. So I bought my first horse with my earnings, and that started my current career path as a vet." Later on in 2005, he moved to New York with his wife and 2 children, and as of 2018, he works out of the Countryside Veterinarian Clinic, where he mainly works with horses and cows. As for acting, he says that he wanted to live a normal life and had declined reporters and interviews for a long period of time. He did admit that sometimes he misses acting, but says his life as a vet has also been his dream for many years. Sliding into our number 7 spot is Jack Gleason. The young actor played Joffrey in HBO's Game of Thrones. His character was one of the most hated characters in television history for being so vile and repulsive. He played the character from 2011 to 2014, but after the boy was killed off the show, Gleason decided he wanted to step away from acting. The actor was always the first one to say that he is nothing like his character and left the business saying he didn't enjoy it as much as he used to. He was in the prime of his career but went on to tell interviewers that he didn't want to be in the spotlight and actually wanted to go back to school. He decided to enroll himself at the Trinity College in Dublin to study philosophy and theology. During an interview he said, and I quote, "I hate celebrity culture." So he returned back home to school and is also a part of the Dublin-based theatre company called Collapsing Horse. And at number 6 is Ariana Richards. The child actor rose to fame with her role in the original Jurassic Park movie in 1993. She continued to pursue acting and even reprised her role in 1997 for the Lost World Jurassic Park. Between 1998 and 2013, she seemed to have taken a break from acting as we didn't see her taking on any new roles. Back in 2013, she showed up in a TV movie called Battle Dogs, which led people to believe she might be making her way back into Hollywood. But she actually left the world of Hollywood behind, and we haven't seen her on the screen ever since. Turns out the actress is now a painter, and a very successful one at that. Her artwork is famously known because she does lifelike portraits where people can order them as special gifts. I'm not gonna lie, I think it is a little refreshing for a young woman to leave Hollywood and still pursue a different form of art and be successful at it. She's only 39 years old, so she still has plenty of time to make her way back into Hollywood if she really wanted to. Halfway through our list at number 5 is Jack Nicholson. The man is titled a legend when it comes to acting, which is probably why it's no surprise that he can do whatever he pleases to do. Stepping away from the limelight was one of his decisions that left people wondering why he just upped and left. Back when he was doing an interview with The Sun, the actor opened up and said, "I'm not going to work until the day I die. That's not why I started this. I mean, I'm not driven. I was driven, but now I'm not. I don't have to be out there anymore. In fact, there's part of me that never really liked being out there." Well, I guess it is as simple as that. We haven't seen him acting since 2010 when he took on the role as Charles in How Do You Know? Last year in 2018, it was rumored that he would be coming out of retirement to star in the American remake of Tony Erdmann. Nothing has yet been confirmed though. Taking the number 4 spot is Jonathan Taylor Thomas, also known as JTT, or the son of Tim Allen on the hit TV show Home Improvement. When the young actor left the show, preteen hearts were shattered all over the world. At just 16 years old, the actor decided he wanted to leave the popular television show in order to live a more normal life. Many people didn't understand his choice, but he says it was just something he had to do. When speaking on it back in 2013, he said, "I'd been going non-stop since I was 8 years old. I wanted to go to school, to travel, and have a bit of a break. An education is more surefire guarantee that you have possibilities open to you." JTT actually went to Harvard University and studied philosophy and history and finished his degree at Columbia University. When he left Home Improvement, he didn't completely disappear from Hollywood. He could be found in a few movies, doing voiceover work, and made some guest appearances on TV shows. But he couldn't be found between the years 2006 to 2013 as he declined being part of the Home Improvement finale, which is why fans went crazy when he appeared on Tim Allen's show Last Man Standing in 2013 to 2015. But his appearance was short-lived and we haven't seen him back since. Alright guys, at number 3 is Gene Hackman. The actor blessed our screens for years, but we haven't seen him since 2004 when he starred in Welcome to Mooseport. It's been said that he never officially retired, but we kind of just figured it out on our own, seeing as he hasn't worked on anything in years. Not to mention he is 89 years old now. Ever since he left the acting industry, he's taken his talent and skill to print instead. He began working with archaeologist Daniel Menahan to write 3 historical fiction novels. That's right, our man Hackman is known to be an author now. On top of his fiction novels, he also wrote 2 solo ones. In 2011, he wrote Payback at Morning Peak, and in 2013, he wrote a book called Pursuit. While fans are still missing him on the screen, I'm sure, they must be glad he's still putting his wit and talent into something. And at number 2 is Jake Lloyd. The once child star took on the role of the young Anakin Skywalker in the highly anticipated Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. What would seem like the opportunity of a lifetime was quickly taken from him when the movie didn't live up to its expectations. It was said that his performance got lumped into the overall fan disappointment of the movie. Before that though, he did book some other roles on TV series like ER and The Pretender. But it seems like after Star Wars, he left his acting career behind. Between the years 1999 to 2002, he has smaller credits, but mostly for being the voice on Star Wars video games. Since then, the actor has made headlines, but for all the wrong reasons. We have learned that he suffers from schizophrenia and also had a few run-ins with the law. Taking our number 1 spot is Danny Lloyd. For decades, horror fans have been asking author Stephen King, what happened to that kid from The Shining? Well, I am here to give you the very unscary truth. He became a pig farmer and a science teacher. The actor at the time was only 5 years old and and now he is in his 40s, married, and a father of 6. In 2013, he did his first episode since he was a kid with Daily News, where he opened up about his normal life, saying that people don't recognize him when he goes out in public. He explained that he did continue acting but ended up giving up when he was a teenager. He said, I quote, "We kept trying for several years until I was in high school and I stopped at about 14 with almost no success." Danny says he enjoyed being in the movie but went on to work at a local Walmart and drove a tractor on a hog farm. Now he teaches biology at a community college outside of Louisville. He watched The Shining for the first time when he was 16 years old with a group of friends and says that he was not scared. Just a few weeks ago, the sequel to the movie dropped its official trailer for Dr. Sleep, and fans were a bit butthurt that Danny won't be returning to reprise his role. Starting off the list at number 10 is Sean Connery. The actor first rose to fame during the 60s when he became the first ever James Bond. That is quite the title to have. After that, he continued to take on roles in box office hits like The Untouchables, Highlander, The Rock, and we all know it didn't hurt his career when he also played Indiana Jones' dad in the movie. We know that his last film before he retired was The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen back in 2003. This was the movie where he got into a fist fight with the director, Stephen Norrington. It wasn't revealed until years later just exactly why he starred in a movie he hated so much with the director that he got into an altercation with. Turns out he had turned down both Lord of the Rings and The Matrix, so he felt like there was no way he could turn this one down. He told Entertainment Weekly, "I got offered The Lord of the Rings and I turned it down because I didn't understand it. I was offered The Matrix twice and I turned it down because I didn't understand it. I don't understand this movie, but I will be damned if I'm going to turn it down." After that, he basically called it quits on acting, and he has been enjoying retirement ever since. At number 9 is the beautiful actress Meg Ryan. She has had a very successful acting career, which is why it was shocking when she just decided to walk away from it. We haven't seen her in a movie since 2015 when she took on a minor role, and many of us didn't even know she quit. She kind of just disappeared. We only found out last year on June 9th, 2018 when she joined her once co-star Gwyneth Paltrow for a panel discussion in LA. She sat down to do an interview for Gwen's In Goop Health event. The two of them talked candidly about working in Hollywood and Meg's decision to quit acting a few years ago. Meg spoke about it by saying, "I didn't really aim to be an actor. I was a journalism major at school and a curious person, and I wanted to go back into the world and figure out who I am in relationship to other things and other people and other environments." Over the years, she has majorly stepped out of the spotlight and rarely makes appearances at public events. That doesn't stop the paparazzi from snapping some pictures though. So at our number 8 spot is Dylan Sprouse. You would know him and his twin brother Cole Sprouse from the Disney Channel's The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and then all their other Disney appearances after that, like The Sweet Life on Deck. Both of them had huge success at a young age. It was reported that they were earning $40,000 per episode at the height of their career. In 2011, the twins pulled away from the public eye without any explanation why. In 2013, some customers were startled at a coffee shop in the East Village when Dylan Sprouse was pouring lattes and craft beers. Turns out that Dylan went on to study at NYU, which is where he developed a passion for brewing. He did an internship for some time at a Brooklyn bourbon distillery and has a passion for mead in particular. He is now running his own brewery, which he added into the William Vale Hotel in Williamsburg, called the All Wise Meadery. During an interview with Vanity Fair in 2018, he refers to acting as a commission type job and says that the meadery provides a stable paycheck. He also admitted that he often gets compared to his brother Cole Sprouse, who landed a lead role as Jughead in the hit TV series Riverdale. When asked about his brother's TV show, he said, "Don't tell my brother, but I've only seen the first episode. If I'm being honest, when I first saw Riverdale, I had no idea which twin it was, so he could totally just pretend it was him and take the credit for it." Taking the number 7 spot is Karen Parsons. She's famous for playing Hilary Banks on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Outside of the show, she had other acting success, but we haven't seen her on the big screen since 2002. Her last movie was 13 Moons, and her last TV series was The Job. She up and left her acting career after that and has been dedicating herself to changing the lives of other people. In 2013, she founded a non-profit organization that teaches kids all about figures in Black history. She called it Sweet Blackberry. She did an interview with Huffington Post where she spoke about the importance of her organization. She said, I quote, "When you only hear about a handful of stories, the message is, every once in a while a special Black person comes along. And that's a dangerous message to send to everyone. everyone. It does nothing but harm the idea of black people. I think it's really important to tell these stories because there are lessons to be learned. Incredible lessons about perseverance and determination and opportunity to do something great. Her organization did a project that shared the story of the first black female pilot named Bessie Coleman, which ended up being a huge success. And at number 6 is Michael Schofling. He won the hearts of many young girls when he took on the role of Jake Ryan in the classic movie 16 Candles. He started the movie back in 1984 and quit acting not that long after in 1991. Fans were wondering whatever happened to the heartthrob, and we later found out that in between booking roles, he got into making furniture. He now has a successful furniture business in his home in Pennsylvania. When asked about why he made the career path switch, he told LA Times, "Actors spend most of their time out of work, so I actually spend more time making furniture. The thing about furniture that's much better than acting is that it's just me. There's no director, no script, the concept is me, unless a client wants something. In film work, you do the best you can under the given circumstances, but you don't have control. At least I don't." Well, I'm sure people would love the chance at buying a chair from Jake Ryan. Halfway through at number 5 is Barrett Oliver. Some say he was the most talented child actor of the 80s after he took on the role as Bastian in The Never-Ending Story. After the success that 1984 movie brought him, he went on to star in movies like The Twilight Zone and The Secret Garden. People thought he was well on his way to be the next Hollywood star, but he ended up ditching acting at the young age of 16. In 2004, there was an update on where he was at in his life, and it confirmed that he was a photography teacher in California, where he holds workshops and demonstrations about the craft. One fan visited his photo exhibition in California and posted online saying he has a full beard, wears glasses, and has long hair. His voice was recognizable, he wasn't really tall, and spoke quietly. And let me tell you, they were not lying. He doesn't show any signs of regret or desire to return to Hollywood or acting, and fans aren't totally sure if he would even be able to at this point. Here we are at number 4 with Jeff Cohen. You might remember him from his role as Chunk in the legendary The Goonies. The classic movie came out in 1985, and he continued his acting career up until 1991. When asked why he left the industry, he cracks jokes saying that puberty forced him into early retirement as a child actor. He explains that as he got older, finding work was a lot more difficult. Once acting was out of the picture, he found a passion for law and attended the University of California, Berkeley, earning a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. The former actor went on to become a lawyer, and in 2008 he was named one of the top 35 executives under 35 years of age. He continues to be a successful lawyer and says that acting has benefited his legal career because it makes him more empathetic for his clients and less academic. He has also done work for the Huffington Post and BNBC from time to time about business and legal subjects, so I guess he's still in Hollywood in some sense. Alright guys, at number 3 is Frankie Muniz, who you might know as Malcolm from the classic TV series Malcolm in the Middle. The show ran from 2000 to 2006 and is basically what put him on the map in the acting world. He also did other movies like Big Fat Liar, Agent Cody Banks, and Sharknado. Needless to say, he had a wildly successful career. His acting resume is stacked with a number of different credits, which is why I was so stunned when I found out that he walked away from Hollywood and is now running an olive oil shop. Yes, that is a thing. Turns out acting is no longer his main focus anymore, although you will see him popping up in some projects once in a while. After he left his full-time acting career, he and his fiancée Paige Price now own an olive oil shop called Outrageous Olive Oils and Vinegars in Old Town Scottsdale. If you go, you will actually spot him sitting behind the register. The now 32-year-old says, "We had been customers at the store before and we just knew we liked the product and we wanted to do something together. Now it's become our lives." The former actor, who was once practically drowning in fame, money, and success, says that he's found a new passion: payroll. He said, "I love doing payroll. I love doing anything with the financials. I'm a numbers guy, so this has been like a dream come true for me." Amen. To each their own. Starting off our list at number 10 is Richard Simmons. He's known to be the iconic and hilarious fitness instructor, but is also known as an actor and video producer. He embraced over 40 years of fame, but then withdrew himself from the public eye, leaving fans with nothing but a mystery. But in 2017, some of his family and friends addressed his sudden disappearance from the spotlight. For 3 years, he wasn't seen by anyone. He taught his final exercise class, walked out of his Beverly Hills studio, and that was it. Rumors began to spread that he was being held hostage hostage in his Hollywood Hills home by his housekeeper or possibly transforming into a woman. But the truth was finally revealed, and his close circle revealed that his solitary seclusion is completely self-imposed. His brother Lenny Simmons came forward and said, I quote, "These things about him transitioning into a woman are ridiculous. My wife Kathy and I were out there for Christmas and spent 5 days with him, and I can assure you, he's not transitioning into anything but himself." After 40 some odd years, he just decided he wants to rest. He went on to explain that the 68-year-old at the time just wanted time to himself and that he is in good health, which is not surprising seeing as he's been running fitness classes his entire life. At number 9 is Randy Quaid. You might be thinking of actor Dennis Quaid, but he actually has a brother Randy who is also an actor. But don't worry, they look nothing alike, so if you felt bad that you didn't put the connection together, don't. We know that Dennis has a very successful career, but Randy has had a successful career also, with 118 acting credits to his name on IMDb. However, in 2009 he ditched the industry, and problems began when he and his wife were arrested for fraud by using an invalid credit card at an inn. They were released on bail but then failed to appear in court, and that is when warrants for their arrest were issued. Eventually the two of them appeared in court, but the charges against the actor were dropped due to a lack of evidence. Only 1 year later the two of them were charged again, but this time for burglary after they spent 5 days staying in the guest house in a home that they once owned. Once again, they failed to appear in court and warrants for their arrest were issued once again. Turns out they moved to Canada to try and hide out, but they ended up getting arrested while trying to sneak back into the States through Vermont. Coming in at number 4 is Carrie Henn. The actress was only 9 years old when a casting call went up in her hometown for the space horror movies Aliens in 1986. Even though she had never acted before, she somehow caught the eye of the director and she booked the role of Newt after their very first meeting. Her brother Chris was also cast in a smaller role, but his performance wasn't shown until the director's cut was released in 1992. She was basically living the dream being involved in a movie like that, but neither she nor her brother ever took on another role after that. Literally, her entire acting career began and ended all with one movie. People always wondered what happened to the little girl, and she has since opened up about why she got a little taste of Hollywood but quickly left. She says it was because she didn't want to live in LA. At the time, her family was living in England, and it would have meant that she would have to leave her family. They couldn't pick up and move to LA because they were a military family and were stationed there. Henn is now an elementary school teacher, and she says she occasionally signs copies of the Aliens DVD for her students. Alright guys, at number 3 we have Fan Bingbing. She is one of China's highest paid stars and came into the Western limelight when she starred in 2014's X-Men Days of Future Past and Iron Man 3 the year before. But before we knew it, CNN was reporting that the actress had suddenly just disappeared without a trace in 2018. Turns out she was caught in some tax trouble and owed approximately $130 million. It was reported that she was using fake contracts to commit tax evasion, which was later called the scheme of using yin-yang split contracts. Apparently it is a common thing. She disappeared for months and went into hiding to avoid what was happening, but later turned herself in and was faced with the penalties and also the huge tax bill that she has to pay off. She returned to her social media and apologized to her fans and also to her country, stating that she failed them. She said, "As a public figure, I should have abided by laws and regulations and been a role model in the industry and society. I shouldn't have lost self-restraint or become lax in managing my companies, which led to the violation of laws in the name of economic interests. Without the favorable policies of the Communist Party and state, without the love of the people, there would have been no Fan Bingbing." Her apology was heard, but we haven't seen her on the big screen ever since. In our number 2 spot is Nick Stahl. He started out as a child star and then transitioned into a very successful actor from there. He is known for his movies Terminator 3, Sin City, In the Bedroom, and more. But in May of 2012, TMZ confirmed that the actor had gone missing and people were reporting to have seen him around the Skid Row area of downtown Los Angeles. Fans were shocked and so were his family and friends. Shortly after his disappearance made news, he emailed his friends claiming that he was planning to go to rehab. However, it was confirmed that he never showed up to that rehab center. Once he was found, he ended up going to a rehab center in June, but checked himself out and went missing once again. His wife, Rose Stahl, went to the tabloids and said, "I'm backing off. He knows exactly where home is." She explained that she wouldn't be actively searching for her husband again this time around. He finally returned home in July and reconciled with his family, but later in 2013 he was arrested after being caught using meth in a hotel. He disappeared after that, and we didn't see him in anything since his last appearance in 2014. It's been reported that he has some work coming out in 2019, so we will just have to wait and see. Taking our number 1 spot is Dave Chappelle. For more than 30 years, he has been making people laugh through his stand-up comedy and acting. His career exploded after his first 2 seasons of his very own show called Chappelle's Show on Comedy Central, but fans were stunned and confused why he randomly walked away from everything at the height of his success. He left the show and also walked away from a $50 million deal. Not only did he disappear from the spotlight, but he also left Hollywood and fled to South Africa as a way to escape. In 2017, he opened up to CBS News about why he walked away and said that things just didn't feel right, so he did what was best for him. He said, "I was in this very successful place, but the emotional content of it didn't feel like what I imagined success should feel like. It just didn't feel right." He made a return to the limelight almost 5 years later and says that he continues to work, but only at his pace and what he is comfortable with. People are still not over it and often post online asking, so what actually happened to Dave Chappelle? Starting off the list at number 10 is Terrence Howard. We saw him take on the role of James Rhodes in the first Iron Man movie, but then he disappeared and we didn't see him reprise his role for the sequel. But we eventually got an explanation for it, and it's pretty simple. Money. He discussed his reasoning for leaving the MCU in 2013 on the Andy Cohen series called Watch What Happens Live. He alleged that Robert Downey Jr., I quote, "took the money that was supposed to go to me and pushed me out." He explained that Marvel signed him up for 3 films, and then when it was time for the sequel, they demanded he take an almost 90% pay cut. I feel like that's illegal. He also said that he called Robert Downey Jr., a friend of his who he actually helped get the role of Iron Man in the first place, and apparently Robert didn't call him back for 3 months. But 4 years later, they were able to be civil again, and Terrence admitted that he just ran his mouth when he shouldn't have, and that they are all making money now, so who cares. Up next at number 9 is Zoe Saldana. We watched her play Gamora in the Marvel franchise for years, but recently she disappeared on us. Fans were thrilled to see her resurrection in Avengers Endgame, but her return left everyone with a lot of unanswered questions. Mainly one, what does this mean? Now that she's basically come back to life, where does her character go from here? Fans were hoping to get some answers at Comic-Con this year, but all we got was confirmation that she will not be returning anytime soon. When speaking with the LA Times, she spoke as if her time with the MCU has officially reached an end. They spoke about her last experience as Gamora and how she felt, and she said, "It was sad of course, because I think we all suffer from FOMO. There is always a fear of missing out, but I'm so happy that I got to play a part in the Marvel universe. So I guess I'm going to cry all the way to Avatar, you know?" Zoe knew she would return for Avengers Endgame to finish the story, but we're all pretty bummed that hers might officially be over. At number 8 we have Gwyneth Paltrow, who we know to play Iron Man's beautiful wife in the series Pepper Potts. She played Tony Stark's love interest for 11 years, appearing in different movies throughout her MCU experience. Her character appeared in all 3 Iron Man movies, as well as Avengers Infinity War, Spider-Man Homecoming, and Avengers Endgame. However, for those who saw Avengers Endgame, we all had to witness the death of Tony Stark, which means we also were saying goodbye to Pepper Potts. Fans might be bummed out, but Gwyneth seems to be okay with it and says that it is her time. She told Variety, "I mean, I'm a bit too old to be in a suit and all at this point." She has nothing but good things to say about her experience in the MCU, and chances are very slim that she will just reappear. And at number 6 is Rick Moranis. The actor is best well known for his role as Wayne Zelinsky in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. The actor's career was a massive success, appearing in things like The Flintstones, Brother Bear, and Gravedale High. In the 80s and early 90s, he was one of the hottest comedy actors around. But then he went into hiding for good reason though. Unfortunately, in 1997, his wife at the time passed away after a battle with breast cancer. The actor says he realized it was too difficult to make movies and raise his 2 children without his wife. He decided to walk away from the spotlight and focused on just being a single dad. He didn't appear in anything from 1997 to 2001. He then continued to do smaller voiceover work for the next 17 years. He was pretty much off of Hollywood's radar. In 2018, his voice was heard in an episode on the TV series The Goldbergs, but that is it. The actor has opened up about it since and said he meant for it to be a short break at first, but during the break he realized he just didn't miss the industry. He has enjoyed his time off and knows that going into hiding was the best thing for him to do. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Margot Kidder. The actress is best known for playing Lois Lane in the original Superman movies, but she's also known for her disappearance scandal. Her story is much more complex than the other actors on our list. The actress was 47 years old when she was reported missing and was later found hiding in bushes behind a suburban home. So when I say went into hiding, I literally mean that she went into hiding. Police reports say she was found dirty, frightened, and paranoid. A Glendale police sergeant, Rick Young, said at the time of her discovery she was wearing disheveled, cast-off clothing and apparently cut her own hair with a razor blade in an attempt to alter her appearance. She lived in the bushes for days, so she was covered in scratches and bruises. She was then taken to the Olive View Medical Center for psychiatric evaluation and was determined to have bipolar disorder. After that, she was able to continue a career over the years, starring in things like Law & Order, Smallville, and Halloween 2. People were happy to see her make a comeback after going into hiding, but sadly the actress passed away just last year on May 13th, 2018. Here we are at number 4 with Jason Mewes, most famously known for playing Jay on Jay and Silent Bob. His career was in full swing when he went into hiding for about 2 years after failing to show up for a drug-related court appearance in 2001. Since then, he has openly talked about his struggles with substance abuse and shared that he was addicted to heroin for many years. It all started in 1999 when he was arrested in New Jersey for heroin possession, and then he failed to show up to his court appearance in 2001 and a warrant was issued for his arrest. That's when he went into hiding and apparently stole money and stayed at various hotels. In 2002, he woke up on Christmas morning to find that the couch he was sleeping on was caught on fire. He realized after falling asleep while on heroin, a near-lit candle set the couch in flames. He says that is when he realized he was hitting rock bottom. On April 1st, 2003, he came out of hiding and surrendered himself to the police and pleaded guilty. Since then, he has relapsed a few times but has been able to maintain an acting career starring in things like Hollyweed, The Flash, and now the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. At number 3 is Chris Evans. Our beloved Captain America has disappeared from the Marvel Universe and I'm still pretty upset about it. At the end of Avengers Endgame, we watched him pass over his shield to Falcon, who confirmed at the Seattle Comic-Con that he is in fact the new Captain America. Which can only mean one thing: Chris Evans no longer has a place in the MCU. Although you won't convince Marvel fans who feel like the actor can never truly be replaced. He did get one final performance in Endgame and he was asked about his character's decision to return to the past and whether or not his reunion with Peggy Carter will have some sort of ramifications with Sharon Carter. Chris admits that he doesn't have the answer to that question, but he said that the MCU will never leave a stone unturned. He said, "Ask the writers. I mean, look, I understand there's a lot of things you could question about the time continuum, but if there's anything I've learned about working with Marvel, it's that they don't leave stones unturned. They really don't." So basically, let's all cross our fingers for the chance that he comes back for some kind of like cameo or something. Just put him on our screen. In spot number 2 is Robert Downey Jr. Number 2 on this list, but number 1 in our hearts. That was so cheesy. This one is pretty painful to talk about. After 11 years of watching the actor play Tony Stark, aka Iron Man, we had to part ways with him in Endgame after watching his very emotional death. Marvel fans are still digesting the death of the hero, and Comic-Con was just another reminder that we will not be seeing him in Phase 4. It might be safe to say that Robert Downey Jr. has officially run out of time in the MCU. People were happy to see him appear in Spider-Man Homecoming, even though it wasn't part of a story that continues any further. But regardless, Marvel fans already have a theory that the actor might return one day. The actor has recently said that he wants to see Ironheart being immortalized on screen as an actual character in the MCU. If this is a possibility, then he could technically come back as an AI, meaning he could reprise his Tony Stark ego as an artificial intelligence. There is no confirmation on this, and Marvel's president Kevin Feige speaks on Tony Stark's death and said that his death will be felt in future movies. So he is still talking in past tense, which means that he is totally gone. Taking the number 1 spot on our list is Tom Holland due to recent tragic events. The Marvel Universe was flipped upside down when it was announced that Disney and Sony could not reach an agreement on finances for the Spider-Man franchise. Technically, Sony owns Spider-Man, which also means that they pretty much own Tom Holland. The door officially closed on Spider-Man returning to the MCU, and Sony's boss man, Tony Vinciquerra, says they will be okay. He told Variety, "Spider-Man was fine before the event movies, did better with the event movies, and now that we have our own universe, he will play off the other characters as well. I think we're pretty capable of doing what we have to do here." The two studios weren't able to reach an agreement because Disney wanted a 50-50 co-financing arrangement, and Sony refused. There has been a ton of backlash from fans who are saying that they are going to boycott future Sony movies. Tom Holland doesn't like to speak on the issue right now and simply made a statement to his fans where he told them he's grateful and that he loves them 3000. Only true fans will know what that means. Starting off our list, number 10 is Terrence Howard. If you missed all the drama back in 2008, the actor was fired from Marvel's Iron Man movie and burned bridges with pretty much everyone who was involved. Apparently, he was difficult to work with and also wasn't happy with his hefty pay offer, which was reported to be between $3.5 to $4.5 million. Yeah, I wouldn't be happy either with that much money. So he already had a sketchy reputation affiliation with Hollywood throughout the years, but in 2019, he made the announcement that he was actually quitting acting. He attended the Emmy Awards and shortly after did an interview where he said, "Oh, I'm done with acting. I'm done pretending. I'm just focusing on bringing the truth to the world." At the time of this video, he is still finishing up his movie called Selfie, so it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out and if he stays true to his word. But at this point, I probably wouldn't even want to work with him. Up next, number 9 is Eliza Dushku. She first made a real name for herself when she took on the role of Missy in Bring It On. From there, her career just completely took off, but came to a sudden end after she made harassment claims back in 2017. After working on TV series like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Dollhouse, Leap Year, she signed on to be a part of the series called Bull. But just after 3 episodes, she came forward saying that the producer, Glenn Gordon Caron, would make inappropriate comments about her in front of the entire cast and crew. Apparently, he made remarks about her appearance, he made a joke about rape, and also made a comment about having a threesome. She filed a lawsuit, and after going through mediation with CBS, the company paid her a settlement of $9.5 million. She hasn't acted in anything ever since it was settled, which I think is completely wrong, so I'm actually not impressed that she's on this list. This is not good news to Brer. So over the number 7 spot is Edward Norton. He took on the role of the Green Monster, the Hulk, in the original Incredible Hulk movie. Fans were in shock back in 2010 when it was announced that they wouldn't be asking him to reprise his role in Avengers, saying that they wanted an actor who, I quote, embodied the creativity and collaborative spirit of our other talented cast members. Like anyone else would be, Edward was offended by that statement and told his side of the story, saying they unexpectedly cut off negotiations after weeks of civil discussions. I'm confused. Turns out there was already bad blood between the actor and Marvel because he wanted to rewrite the script, and when his added scenes weren't used in the final cut, he refused to do press for it. More recently in 2018, over a decade later, he took a shot at Marvel during Comedy Central's roast of Bruce Willis and went to the podium and said, "I tried to be like Willis. I did a big action movie called The Incredible Hulk. You know what went wrong? I wanted a better script." Shots fired. Next up at number 6 is Hugo Weaving, who played the Red Skrull throughout his time in the MCU. He first signed a multi-picture deal with Marvel Studios, but then decided he didn't want to return after Captain America: The First Avenger. You might be confused, as we saw the Red Skrull after that in Avengers Infinity War, but that was not Hugo. He was actually replaced by another actor. Apparently there weren't any hard feelings towards Marvel, he just wanted to steer away from blockbuster movies. He spoke about it with Collider, saying, "I think I've done my dash with that sort of film. It was good to do it and try it out, but to be honest, it's not the sort of film I seek out and am excited by." Since then he has appeared in other blockbuster films, but his screen time is relatively short, nothing compared to his time as the Red Skrull. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Tim Blake Nelson. Hulk comic fans weren't surprised when we learned about Mr. Blue in the Incredible Hulk film. The mystery man that Bruce Banner can only contact through instant messages turns out to be a scientist named Samuel Stearns, who was played by Tim Nelson. In the comics, his character is the alter ego of the Hulk Nemesis, and their storyline lasted 4 years. This would have fans to believe that we'd see the storyline play out. In 2011, Nelson told the Playlist that he was still under contract to do more films for Marvel, but nothing ever came from it. He never got another Hulk standalone movie. Mark Ruffalo later took on the role as the Green Monster, and if it makes anything better for Norton, we still haven't seen a Hulk standalone movie, so don't worry. In our 3rd spot is Roseanne Barr. She had her own TV series titled Roseanne, which ran through the years 1988 to 2018 with a total of 229 episodes. So you can imagine how devastating it was for her when she lost the entire show, along with her entire career. Throughout her long career, she's always been known for her unpredictable and unfiltered behavior, but she crossed the line when she sent out a racist tweet. The tweet has since been deleted, but it once referred to Valerie Jarrett, the senior advisor to President Barack Obama, as a child of the Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes. ABC called an emergency meeting immediately, and just a few hours later, her show was cancelled. It's probably safe to say that she won't be making a return to our screens in 2020, but rumor has it that she's planning a comeback tour, wanting to do a live comedy show, so we'll see how that goes. Taking over spot number 2 is Kevin Spacey. Since 2017, the sexual misconduct allegations against the actor have been heavily documented ever since actor Anthony Rapp first accused him of unwanted sexual advances. Following the the claims, he was fired from his Netflix show House of Cards and has been appearing in different court dates ever since after 30 more victims came forward. It was announced at the end of 2019 that all charges had been dropped at this point, so people started to wonder if he could be making a comeback in 2020. The charges weren't dropped because he was not guilty, they were actually dropped because a handful of his victims had committed suicide and one woman passed away from cancer. However, Variety released a public statement saying, I quote, "Just because all charges were dropped doesn't mean that many won't or shouldn't be wary of working with him again." That will be so messed up, let me just say that. Swiping the number 7 spot is Elizabeth Hurley. She is best known for her earlier work in Austin Powers, but more recently for her roles on the hit TV series Gossip Girls, Runaways, and The Royals. Despite her talent and success, she vanished from the spotlight and the industry from 2005 to 2010, and then again from 2014 to 2017. She kind of just comes and goes as she pleases, apparently. People have always wondered why exactly she up and left in the first place, and apparently it was because she wanted a different life at the time. In 2005, she told the New York Post that she was no longer going to act in movies because she wanted to focus on raising her son. She stuck to her word because she didn't appear in anything until 2010. She said, I quote, "Looking after my son became my #1 task, and it was a joy to have someone else to focus on. I was 36 and had been worrying about myself for quite long enough. I stopped doing movies and TV for the first 8 years of his life, and I don't regret it for a moment." Now she is 54 years old and owns her own bikini line called Elizabeth Hurley Beach. In spot number 6 is John Hughes, the actor famously known for his role in 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and The Breakfast Club. Not only was he an actor, but he was also a director and even wrote some of Hollywood's classics like Home Alone, Flubber, and Beethoven. Needless to say, he had quite the successful career. His acting career only lasted 5 years though, and in 1991 he quit everything and moved to Chicago in 1995. From then on, he was gone from the Hollywood limelight but continued to write and work on screenplays. He enjoyed living a more private lifestyle while being able to still work on his passion, which is writing. Sadly, back in 2009 on August 6, he was walking near his hotel in Manhattan and suffered from a heart attack. Not long after, he was pronounced dead at just 59 years old, but no one could ever forget him since he is still a part of some of our favorite cult classics. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Lark Voorhees. The young actress stole our hearts when she played Lisa on the hit series Saved by the Bell. Once the series was over, she went on to reprise her role in the series Saved by the Bell The College, and then the TV movie Saved by the Bell Wedding in Las Vegas. But after that, she just seemed to disappear out of the spotlight, only booking smaller roles, mainly indie films or TV movies. The last time anyone saw her at all on the screen was in 2012 when she starred in Closer to God, Jessica's Journey. She showed up years later with a ton of plastic surgery done to her face and admitted to having bipolar disorder. Currently, she is living with her mom in California, where her mom says there are things that have traumatized her and she is just working on getting better. She has turned to writing in the meantime and has released books that are all self-published. On top of that, people began to question why her face had unusual discoloration, so she publicly stated that she also had been diagnosed with lupus. She even went as far as filing a lawsuit against the National Enquirer, who published a story about her face discoloration, stating that she had a drug problem. She hopes that she can be an advocate and an influence on those who suffer from similar illnesses. In spot number 7 is Monique. After she won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in 2010 for her role in Precious, things turned sour 5 years later. She made headlines after she started making serious claims to The Hollywood Reporter, saying that she was blackballed by the industry. She said that the director of the movie, Lee Daniels, had a problem with her because she didn't say his name during the night of the Oscar Awards, but he says that she demanded things that weren't in line with the movie's campaign at the time. Then, later down the road, in November 2019, she filed a lawsuit against Netflix for pay discrimination, alleging that she was offered lower pay than every other comedian. She was offered $500,000 for her special, which is just a fraction of what Amy Schumer and Ellen DeGeneres made for theirs. So basically, she's just getting into a whole bunch of beef with all parts of Hollywood. Cruising into number 6 is Jason Mitchell. potential. He gained attention for his performance as Eazy-E in the 2015 movie Straight Outta Compton, which led to other big roles like his time on the TV series The Chi. He starred in the series from 2018 to 2019, but was let go after the news broke that he was dropped by Netflix. In May 2019, it was reported that Netflix dropped him from their movie Desperados, saying that he had inappropriate offset conduct. Not long after, he was dropped from The Chi and his personal agent. Some of his cast members made claims that he was inappropriate with them and often had issues with rage throughout the filming process. He of course denied the allegations and defended his case, but he probably will not be a hot commodity in 2020 for casting directors. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Lori Loughlin. She faced legal charges in 2019 after being one of many parents who got caught in a nationwide college admissions scandal. Not only did she face a fine, but she also lost her entire acting career. The scandal was known as Operation Varsity Blues. How it works is that people would pay a scam artist named William Singer who would work his magic and basically get them into a school or get them higher exam scores. Lori was accused of paying $500,000 to get her daughters, Olivia and Isabella, into the University of Southern California as crew recruits. Once the story broke, she was fired from the Hallmark Channel and from Netflix, the two networks where she starred on Fuller House and When Calls the Heart. She lost both TV series at once, which sucks, and we haven't seen her in anything ever since, and we probably won't be seeing her in 2020 either, which is a shame, because I really liked her on Full House. Moving down the list, we are at number 4 with Jussie Smollett. How could people ever forget his alleged Hollywood hate crime? If you don't remember this scandal that made headlines back in 2019, Jussie went to the hospital after being attacked by two males who were yelling racial slurs at him. It was reported that they poured a liquid substance on him before basically beating him so badly to a point where he was hospitalized. All of Hollywood and his fans were calling it a hate crime and wanted to seek justice. But in court, the truth came out, and turns out that the two male suspects were actually paid by Jussie to stage the entire thing. In the end, Jussie was charged for filing a false police report. He was immediately fired from his role on the hit TV series Empire, and as of right now, he is not working on anything for 2020. People are just probably trying to avoid hiring him right now. Alright guys, at number 3 is Alison Lohman. The talented actress has starred in a variety of movies and TV series like Seventh Heaven, Safe Harbor, Drag Me to Hell, and more. Her career was on a roll, but then came to a halt in 2009 where she just seemed to go off the map. Between the years 2009 to 2015, we didn't see anything from her, but people have always wondered why. Turns out she put a pause on her acting career so that she could focus on being a mom. She was living a pretty normal lifestyle trying to raise her son Billy, which was kept a secret for an entire year apparently. She moved to Romania with her husband and gave birth there, so the news wasn't revealed until the following year in August 2011. She stunned fans when she returned to acting in 2015, but disappeared again the following year. We haven't seen her in anything since, but according to her Twitter, she is now an acting coach. Taking our number 1 spot is Heather Donahue. We watched her take on a role in one of the horror movie classics, The Blair Witch Project. The movie came out in 1991 and stamped the arrival of found footage horror. It literally blew everyone's mind. The actress made a variety of appearances in indie horror movies and on TV, starring in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But despite everyone loving and being totally convinced by her performance in Blair Witch, she never booked any high-profile leading roles. She ended up just leaving the industry as a whole back in 2005. When asked about it during an interview, she said, "I took all my stuff into the desert relating to my acting career and burned it all." But she did admit to keeping the blue ski cap from the movie poster. She joked and said if things get really bad, she can just sell it on eBay. So where did she go and what has she been doing all these years? Turns out she has been growing marijuana, mostly for medical purposes, she says. Mostly. She even writes about it in her book, which she wrote called Grow Girl. She ended up living in California with a bunch of growers and their pot wives who help build grow rooms and tend to the crops.